In this video, we'll learn how to find the mean of group data. The mean is one of the most common measures of central tendency, and calculating it for grouped data requires a special approach. Let's start by understanding what group data is. When we have a large data set, we often organize it into intervals or classes to make it more manageable. Each class has a frequency, which represents the number of data values in that class. Here's an example of a frequency table representing the test scores of 50 students. To find the mean of group data, we use a formula. The mean equals the sum of the product of each class mark and its frequency, divided by the sum of all frequencies. Mathematically, it's written as mean equals sum of f underscore I times x underscore I, divided by sum of f underscore I, where x underscore I represents the midpoint or class mark of each class, and f underscore I represents the frequency of that class. First, we need to find the class mark for each interval. A class mark is the midpoint of a class interval, calculated as the average of the lower and upper boundaries of the class. For example, for the class interval 10 to 20, the class mark equals 10 plus 20 divided by 2, which equals 15. Let's calculate the class mark for each interval in our example. For the interval 10 to 20, the class mark is 15. For 20 to 30, it's 25. For 30 to 40, it's 35. For 40 to 50, it's 45. And for 50 to 60, the class mark is 55. Now, we need to multiply each class mark by its corresponding frequency. For the first interval, 15 times 5 equals 75. For the second interval, 25 times 8 equals 200. For the third interval, 35 times 15 equals 525. For the fourth interval, 45 times 12 equals 540. And for the fifth interval, 55 times 10 equals 550. Next, we find the sum of all the f underscore I times x underscore I values and the sum of all frequencies. The sum of f underscore I times x underscore I equals 75 plus 200 plus 525 plus 540 plus 550, which equals 1,890. The sum of all frequencies equals 5 plus 8 plus 15 plus 12 plus 10, which equals 50. Finally, we divide the sum of f underscore I times x underscore I by the sum of frequencies to find the mean. Mean equals 1,890 divided by 50, which equals 37.8. So, the mean test score for our group of 50 students is 37.8. Let's visualize this data to better understand the distribution. This histogram shows the frequency distribution of the test scores. The height of each bar represents the number of students in each score range. The vertical red line represents the mean value we calculated, which is 37.8. Notice how the mean is located near the center of our distribution, as we would expect. Let's look at another example to reinforce our understanding. Here's a frequency table showing the daily time spent by students on social media. Let's solve this step by step. First, we find the class marks. 0 to 2 has a class mark of 1. 2 to 4 has a class mark of 3. 4 to 6 has a class mark of 5. 6 to 8 has a class mark of 7. 8 to 10 has a class mark of 9. Now, we multiply each class mark by its frequency and find the sums. Finally, we calculate the mean. Mean equals 450 divided by 100, which equals 4.5. So, on average, students spend 4.5 hours daily on social media. To summarize, finding the mean of group data involves these key steps. 1. Find the class mark for each interval. 2. Multiply each class mark by its frequency. 3. Find the sum of all these products. 4. Divide by the total frequency. This method allows us to estimate the mean when we only have grouped data rather than individual data points. And that's how you find the mean of group data. Remember, this method gives us an estimate of the mean, as we're using class marks instead of the exact values. Thank you for watching.